So nice of you. Thank you. And with no further ado, me, Eric, will introduce her, Rach, and him, Dave, because they're on the thingy. And there we are. Hello, Rach.
Hello, Uncle Eric. How are you?
I'm better than I was.
Yeah? Really? Or are you just pretending to be better than you was?
No, I was a bit grumpy, and then I thought about it, and I thought, you numpty, don't be grumpy.
Did you say to yourself, let it go, let it go?
I did. It's
good when you do that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, by the way,
what?
I've got to tell you very quickly, Robbie was in love with his birthday present. Robbie loves his GoPro.
Does he really?
He loves it, and he ran straight down to the beach with Gordy and put it under the water and got Gordy all sandy and dirty, which I didn't care for because I was vacuuming while they were out, of course, because I vacuum as I do. But
yes.
He loves it. He just loves it. Now he's gone off to work in the Pilbara. He's back at the Pilbara again. And for those listening, the Pilbara is on the western side of the country, almost to the top.
Wow.
And I'm on the southern side of the country, almost at the bottom. So it's about 8,000 kilometres away.
Oh, when you think of it like that, it is bonkers.
It is bonkers.
Because you're one country at 8,000 kilometres.
Yeah, and I told him, because we had a little bit of a debate at his birthday dinner. I said, we got talking about space as we do, and I said the International Space Station is only 250 miles above the Earth. And he said, that cannot possibly be true. And I said, it can be true. It would be faster for me to get to the International Space Station than to visit you in the Pilbara. And then he had asked
Rach, you'd need an awfully big stepladder.
Oh, look, and I don't like heights.
No,
so,
that's true.
That'd be out of the question.
We'll say hello to Dave first. I've got so many messages coming in already, I can't cope. Hello, Dave.
Morning, afternoon,
evening,
Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Whatever.
Yeah, I've got to say, how are you doing? Quickly.
Me? I'm all right. I've just been watching part 3 of the American road trip video.
We'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm so busy, my messages are disappearing off the screen.
I know, it's gone mad.
No, on all of them. Morning, Steve. Mitchell says, hello, everybody. Some guy called Dave Rhodes says, hello, team. Huh.
I was talking to our people who are commenting.
Ourselves. You were talking to ourselves.
Do you want to put your teeth in, Dave, and start again?
Well, it was the shock of listening to you sing over the last bit. Unfortunately, the audience won't know this, but Rachel and I have to suffer Eric singing off air.
We do.
It's not pleasant.
Eric doesn't know this because he's got us faded down, but Dave and I have quite the commentary about said singing. None of it flattering.
No.
Hang on. Paul's there. He says, yo, folks. Hope all are well and got dry feet. Well, I'm more in turn to say to you, Paul, I hope you guys are absolutely wonderful and keeping nice and dry, especially with the storm coming in this week. I've now got to say hello to Kanya. Hello, Kanya. That's nice. Mustafa and Guy, who's over in Hawaii, who's listening at the moment as well. Nice. Hawaii.
Cool.
What do you say? What do they say in Hawaii? They go Aloha. Yeah, we'll play the 8. No, we'll play the Hawaii 5-0 theme. Yes.
Or Magnum.
Yes. Magnum PI with the Ferrari. That's rather nice. We'll say hello to Ara and to... that's a difficult one for an Eric. Ashma, I believe it is. And Natasha, that's an easy one. And Shane, who's over on the Emerald Isles this morning or afternoon or evening or whatever. I bet it's not raining in Hawaii either. But it is snowing here. It was absolutely teeming down this morning. I actually went out a little bit early so I could sweep the snow off the car. It was that bad. It really was.
I don't believe you.
Sorry?
I don't believe you.
Violins coming out again.
No,
It's all lies.
No, the trouble is, David,
Every time somebody says it's snowing in Poprad, it's not true. Not true.
you don't need the violins for me in snow. I love it. I absolutely love it. But anyway, we're going to start off with a few sillies this week just to sort of warm things up because there's so many negative things going on at the moment. Rachel?
Yes.
Apparently you got some bonkers baboons in Sydney.
We do. They escaped from, can't even remember where, some sort of facility, and they went on a kind of a rampage all around the city.
Well, they got out of an animal hospital, didn't they?
They did. They were tired of being in hospital. They felt quite well. They discharged themselves, and they went all around the place, just
I love it.
Sort of delighting people with their engorged hindquarters, as baboons do.
Yes.
And I thought, this is great, and there's no better place for a baboon to get out on the town.
And of course, if they slowed you down through Sydney, that was a bit of a bummer.
There we go.
I see what you did there.
You know why they escaped, don't you?
Oh, go on.
Why?
I'm waiting. Hang on. I'll get my drums ready.
Oh no, this is for real. There were 3 of them apparently, one male and his 2 wives, and they'd been bred for research, and they were being transferred as the male was going to have a vasectomy. And it broke out. They broke out the back of a truck in the car park of the hospital.
Very sensible. Very sensible indeed.
I know men, like human men, who've tried to escape from a vasectomy, but eventually it has to happen. But you know what? Really, it's all just monkey business.
Here we go. Oh, it's going to be one of those days. Wonderful. Steven Spielberg has pulled out of I've got Dave's problem. Pulled out of directing Indiana Jones 5 because he's just not going to be there. Oh, never mind.
Well, I mean, George Lucas did the same with Star Wars, so.
That's true. Yeah,
he's going to stay involved a little bit. He's just voluntarily stepped aside.
I think he's looking for somebody to take that mantle, because that franchise can't possibly be killed off anytime soon.
No, it can't.
So I think it's like George Lucas did with Star Wars. He was, wanting to do other things, and he's also all about giving other people opportunities. So
he's like that,
the last
actually.
3 Star Wars have been great.
Yeah, quite agree. The Quaden Bales, the young lad, the family of the bullied Australian schoolboy, did something lovely. They did something awesome. And this lovely little lad, I mean, apart from going out and meeting all of his football stars, as in the Australian version, and the people actually donated for him to go to Disneyland, but the parents have said, no, we're not going to do that, that we're giving the money to 2 charities. Oh.
It's really sweet. And I mean, the video went viral really quickly, and I found it really distressing to watch, because this little 9-year-old kid who's suffers from dwarfism, I believe.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
and also a craniofacial issue. He was talking about wanting to end his life, and he's 9. And it broke my heart into a million pieces. But when I heard this story about his family donating this money to charity, it was just some people, not all, some people are just rich with generosity and love and joy and light. And that family certainly is one. And they could have easily taken that holiday. They certainly deserved it.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They chose not to.
Yeah, they did indeed. And I think it's a tremendously good message to go out to the bullies of this world, both kids which are bullies and adults who become narcissists, that you might win the first couple of rounds, but at the end of the day people will get behind the real people and you will lose big time.
They lose the war.
They always lose the war. They always win the battle whenever the war. Mentioning Paul a bit earlier, Storm George is on its way to the UK. Dave's already battened down his one hair.
I know. It's terrible.
Rach.
Sending the boys round later.
Rach, I can remember him when he had hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I only met Dave with no hair, but I find him quite dapper. Yeah,
Oh.
I know.
Oh,
Funnily enough, I lost all my hair after I met you, Eric.
thank you. That was so predictable. But anyway, seriously.
Actually, you know what? So
What?
did I, but I shaved mine off the pants. So
You did it. Oh, shut up. Oh, come on, guys. Give me a break. But we have to be serious for a moment. There is going to be, back to funny money again, there's going to be 70-mile-an-hour winds in the UK. They can cause havoc. They can hurt people. There's going to be heavy rain and flooding. So please stay careful, especially young Paul up in Hull. And Steve, because Steve's going to get a lashing. Steve always likes a lashing. But Steve's having a lashing this week.
it's a perfect time to snuggle up with a good book or a loved one and just ride it out.
Or
Exactly.
have a binge watch of MASH.
Or not get a vasectomy.
Yes. The global stock markets are suffering for the 6-7 day in a row due to the coronavirus. No, you're not Eminem. I don't believe that.
Pardon? What?
I don't believe you're really Eminem. I don't believe that. No, not going to believe it.
And
But
if
you
you
got,
are, shame on you.
but you got a nice photo on there, so that's okay. So welcome, and thank you for inviting people to the show. What a great guy. We love it. What? Someone was.
Don't be Eminem, because Eminem's not a good person. He's
Well, that's
terrible.
true.
His
And
music's awful.
we only have nice people on our family on the radio.
That's right.
That's what we do. Steve says typical. It happens a few days after I got the car. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe he should have got a boat.
Or
Oh no.
I noticed
I get it. Or yeah.
Very good.
Don't encourage him.
Sorry.
I actually noticed on the travel magazine, the editor Sharon, that she did a big feature about car boats. And they weren't really ones. They weren't mucking about ones like Top Gear or anything. These were genuinely made car boats over the years. And they all met up in the UK and had a sail down the river. Well, a driven thing down.
Wasn't Herbie a car boat? Or was he just a car that was so cool he could do anything?
I think he could do
Car
anything.
that could do anything.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
like Herbie. Well, I've got half a Herbie.
Hey?
Did you? What did that do with the other half?
I've got half a Herbie.
Well, where's the other half?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
the back half is my trike.
Oh,
Ah.
I
Because
see what
you-
you're saying.
it's
You mean to tell me that you butchered a Herbie?
well, I didn't personally, but a person did butcher a Herbie. Yes,
Well, he got the half where the engine goes.
that's right.
Is that the heart?
Yes, the heart. Dum, dum, dum,
right,
dum, 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 dum. Well, louder than that, and I can't do that loud. Anyway, stock market's been suffering for 6-7 days due to the coronavirus. We'll be doing more on that in a bit because we have some news from Slovakia as well. And last year we were talking about Jeremy Kyle, and he's going to be back on the telly again.
So his agent says.
I'm not surprised. Because
But-
he will drag a crowd in.
But the interesting thing is, she said, oh, yes, he's going to be back on the telly, but haven't actually announced where, when, how, or anything.
That is very true.
He acquired a
Could be
new
YouTube.
agent. He acquired a new agent called Claire Powell, and she immediately released a statement saying, we've got a new hire on our books, and he's going to have his say and be back on the telly soon.
That's true.
So
Oh, that's
could
nice.
could that be the agent just...
Could be. Could be. I remember, and I won't say it was because it'd be really unfair, a TV celebrity who I was wandering down the road with once, and his career's gone downhill a bit. But his agent was saying, oh, it's going to come up, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and we've got this ready to go. And, of course, it never happened. Horrible agents. My love to you all. Isn't that nice? Cool.
That's nice.
Isn't that nice? One for Rachel.
Who's that from?
That's from Ellie.
Hello, Ellie.
Hello, Ellie.
We love you as well.
We do indeed.
We do.
One for Rach. The docking of a telecom satellite has given it a new lease of life. They kind of grabbed it And this telecom satellite was actually running out of solid fuel, because, believe it or not, there are solid fuel elements to a satellite as well as solar. And they grabbed it, recharged it, and it's off again.
That's what they've been doing, because there's so much stuff up in space, so much stuff.
Oh.
And there's like heaps of junk, but there's a bunch of stuff that's still salvageable. It just needs refueling, and that's what they've started doing with these telecom satellites. So I think they're going to skip round and refuel a few and see how they go.
Yeah, exactly. Have you guys got agents?
No, they won't take us on.
We did. Rach did have once.
I had a very good agent years ago when I was a hacktress, and when I left hacking, I decided that was sort of redundant and didn't have an agent anymore. And now all I do is sit in my jammies talking on Skype. So I don't really need an agent for that.
Yes, I had a Richard at one stage, and I also
had a Lorraine,
an Ian as well, which Dave knows.
Oh, Ian. Yes, I know Ian.
Yes, Ian was my agent for a while.
Was he?
Yes, he got me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, got me all over the place. Hello to Ron, who's just joined us. London firms are in a bit of a shock over the coronavirus as well. A lot of them being sent home as precautionary measures, and it's getting stronger how people are doing that. And I can kind of get it, because in London, there's an awful lot of people work there. And
there can't be that many people left in Canary Wharf.
They probably can't at the moment.
Because Chevron and Crossrail have sent all their team home.
But the funny thing is, Dave, you should have grabbed on this.
Should I?
Yeah, it's so environmentally friendly.
It is.
Your EV work.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good on you, Dave.
Yeah, good on you, Dave. We'll have more about EV in a sec. Hundreds of officers have been raiding places over in Essex in the UK. They found 12 stolen vehicles, £900,000. 12 people have been arrested. And this is all to do with hijacking expensive cars, breaking them down into bits and flogging them off to people outside the UK.
The figures have changed.
Have they really gone up?
Yeah. There were 450 officers in the raid, 15 arrests, 35 stolen vehicles found, £150,000 in cash, £90,000 in jewellery. They raided 20 properties in and around Essex this morning at about 5:45. Nice wake-up call for some people.
Are you going to tell me Mr. Putin's not going to get his new car?
Probably.
Oh, all right. The singer-songwriter James Newman is going to represent the UK in Eurovision with his song My Last Breath. Right.
Well, to be entirely honest, I'm not sure why we bother.
Well, no, but do you know why it don't work?
Because it's political voting, and it's not actually anything to do with the song whatsoever.
Nope. It's because the cultures are different.
Well, that's true.
Yes, that's true.
And the thing is, if you look at the age of people who are nominating and voting for the songs, they all tend to be geriatric.
Yeah. Our contestant, I don't even know her name. I don't know who she is. I've never heard of her.
Right.
But the reason why I think she won the contest to be in the contest is because she's super weird.
That'll do. More comments coming in. Mitchell says, best to reuse than creating more space junk. Honestly. Absolutely, mate. Henry is not here this week because he's got a very poorly throat, which reminds me.
Oh, go on. What?
His lovely lady of many years, Caroline. Caroline, if you're listening, what you should do is go to the kitchen now, leave him alone, and you go to the kitchen and say, Henry, is it all right if I borrow that new dress? Yes? Okay. And I want to go to dinner there next week. All right? Yes. And you can keep going on for hours. He can't answer you. He can't talk.
Me, she's the boss. She's the boss in that house.
No, I wasn't going to go there.
She doesn't even need to ask.
I wasn't even going to go there. We want to say happy birthday to Bob Waiton, who was born in 1908.
It's a bit early.
Why?
His birthday's the 29th of March.
I thought it was now.
No, it's in a month's time. He's only become the world's oldest man because the previous one passed
Died.
away.
Yes,
So Eric's trying to make him even older.
yeah,
Yes.
probably. But anyway, can you just think of a bloke who's born in 1908 and all the technology he's seen being invented. It's got to be mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's heaps.
God, what? Austria has quarantined dozens of people after the first coronavirus cases. And in a moment, I'll give you a message from actually Poprad Airport about what's going to happen there as all the checks kicking over here. That wasn't a pun either. A Swiss town has faced 10 years of evacuation after somebody found a World War II arms dump. Yes.
Huh?
Yeah, and apparently it's so what's the word I'm trying to find? So dodgy. That'll do. And it's volatile. That's the word. It's so
it's so dangerous.
It's so volatile, this stuff, that they reckon it's going to take 10 years to get it out of this small place, and the locals people have just got to leave.
That's horrible.
It is horrible, isn't it? But there's an interesting thing there. Switzerland.
Yeah.
World War II weapons cache. Yeah.
Who planted them there? Who put them there?
Yeah, exactly, because Switzerland wasn't in the war.
They weren't never in any war. They are Switzerland for a reason.
Exactement. And it makes one wonder, what? Is the coronavirus a variant of flu? Kind of. Only it's a lot more dangerous. The UK is nearing its acid test with the talks with the EU. One of the French compatriots was whinging about it at the same time that everybody else said. Also, Greta Thunberg has been in the post, she should be in the post, in the papers again, because of a demonstration in Bristol, and I got lambasted by people on Facebook over this because I said, hang on a minute, why is she travelling all this way, thousands of kilometres, to go to Bristol when she could use Skype?
But she went by train this morning and then got in a Nissan Leaf of all cars.
Yeah, but how did she get on the train in the first place to come from Scandinavia?
I think she bought a ticket, Uncle Eric.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But don't you think she would gain? I mean, she might not get the strong headlines. It'd be a softer one. But if she was to sort of promote the idea of using internet protocol communications, i.e. Skype, you can put Skype up on sort of, hello Britain, 10-foot screens, and it's absolutely perfect. And I know because I've done it. From the States to the UK and vice versa for teleconferencing. And it is fab. And think how much money she would have saved, how much fossil fuel she would have saved.
Yeah.
No comment.
Well, that's true. But then again, if you've got somebody standing in front of you talking, do you pay more attention to them because they're there, or do you pay more attention because they're on a big telly?
Well, if you're standing 20 metres back from her because you can't get any further forward, you wouldn't see her.
Well, to be entirely honest, it was her speech was on the telly before we came on air, and it sounded as though they hadn't plugged her microphone in because she sounded about 100 miles away from it.
Well, there you go.
Given the sort of polarising and controversial figure she is, I think she's going to have to start considering these things simply for her own personal security.
I agree. Because you often find these things go wrong and later on other things happen, as we found out this week with the singer Duffy, who was drugged, raped and held captive. Which is horrible. It's a horrible thought. I mean, my heart goes out to you, girl. It really does. And even more so because she was strong enough to actually talk about it. The Maisie Star co-founder David Roback has died at the age of 61, and shock, horror, amazement. There's an organisation government agency in the UK called the Financial Conduct Authority. And if you have an argument with a financial lender or your bank or something like that, you go to what is known as the FCA to make the complaints. They jump on people, fine them, and all sorts of other things. And guess what's happened? They've been told off big time by the data protection people, because details of who was making complaints against the Financial Conduct Authority were inadvertently published.
Sounds like a problem with GDPR there.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. You don't suffer with that, do you, Rach?
No.
Everybody suffers with GDPR. If they have anything to do with the UK, you have to be bound by the GDPR rules.
Yeah, you do.
Sorry.
The UK turned their nose up at us when they joined the EU, so we might have a problem in the future.
That's very true. The powers that be should bring forward the ban on fuel cars to 2030. They won't be ready by then. They won't. That's only 10 years. I reckon you need probably about 30 or 40 years before you've got an electric car that will do the same as a petrol car. Not in
Wrong.
speed. Not in speed. Not in speed.
Wrong.
Oh, go on.
Well, funnily enough, last Friday evening, having spent a lovely day at the Classic Car Show, I went over to the Ford Electric Go thing that was going on in Marble Arch. And
Launch party.
Going around the country. They have the new Ford Mustang there, which is more like an SUV and will be on. Well, you can order it now. It will be going into manufacture later in the year, and they hope to have the first models delivered to their customers before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It does between 300 and 370 miles between charges.
Not enough.
Well, how many miles does your car do between fill-ups?
In excess of 500 kilometres.
How many is that in miles?
Oh, you're so old.
Mine does 700 kilometres.
Does it? Yeah, but I've only got an equal tank on my car. It takes 45 litres. That's all it takes. But
yes, your 500 kilometres goes 310 miles, so it goes the same distance as an electric Mustang.
But then I take 2 minutes to fill it up again.
Yeah, but then again, do you park your car outside of your house when it's empty and the following morning when you wake up it's full of fuel?
No. But if the only time I'd ever go, that kind of distance is done not every year, but it's done once a year maximum when I drive to Bratislava for the Queen's birthday party. And I go to the British Embassy there. And I get to Bratislava, I get about a third of the way back and I have to fill up. So I would sit there for like 2 hours waiting for the car to fill up.
Why are you going to wait 2 hours for it to fill up? It'll be full in under an hour.
Yeah, but that's an hour I've got to waste.
So you're going to... You could fill up while you were at Bratislava?
No, they got no charging points at the embassy.
Well, in that case, you find one in the local area, don't you, and plug it in? Because you use a thing called ZapMap.
That's too clever.
Never in my life am I going to ever use something called ZapMap just because it's a naff name for anything.
Oh, no, it's horrible. Lloyd's just... Go on, Dave.
I was just going to say, you're going to have to face the fact electric cars are going to happen. I'm not a fan of them until I saw that Mustang last week, and if I could have done, I would have stolen it.
How much is it, the Mustang?
Depends which one you go for. They're quite expensive, about 60, 70k.
No.
But they are very, very nice. I mean, there's some very
I'd love
clever
one
features.
day, but when I can get, once I beat the salesman up, which I always do, they panic when they see me, because I negotiate rather hard. And I'm expecting to pay about 20,000 euros for my replacement car, which will be the same model as the one I've got now, only it's all upgraded because there's so many more toys on it. Against the petrol that I need to say benzene because it's slow. Against the petrol I will use, against 90 grand, I'm going to stick with the petrol one.
And how much do you pay in servicing?
Oh, very little.
Because over here, there's servicing's expensive, the road tax is expensive, all these things add up. And it does actually, if you take it over the lifetime of the vehicle, it's getting quite competitive.
I'm sure it is, and I'm sure I'm wrong. And you know, there are fast chargers not a million miles away from me. But it just, 90 grand.
Well, that's for the top of the range one.
That's all I have, darlings. Darlings, I don't have the bottom of the range ones, darlings.
Tard.
Yes. I resemble
was just
that
going to
remark.
look up and see how much a top of the range Mustang is a petrol one for you.
Yeah, go on then.
Then we down from there. So hold on while we just try.
When did this become an episode of Top Gear? Give me a break, will you?
Yeah. Lloyd's to cut 700 jobs. Everybody's up in arms about it. One woman was saying it's down to Brexit. No, it's not. The unions are really hostile towards Lloyd's over this. No, idiots, it's your own fault.
You want everybody to do everything online.
But most of these union people bank online, and then they wonder why Lloyd's don't want the people sitting around picking their noses.
Precisely.
Yes.
I can sell you a petrol Mustang for 50 grand.
Yeah, that's okay. Still 40 grand cheaper, nearly half the price. Anyway, Mitchell says, I can see electric planes happening. Surely they wouldn't be able to go as fast as a normal jet. Well, actually, they would if the engine technology is the same. Because seriously, I had a go in an electric vehicle and it frightened the devil out of me. They are so fast off the 0 to 60 per Pro UK is so fast.
In the new Mustang, it's less than 3 seconds.
I know, isn't that awesome?
Rips your face
Give me
off.
a break.
Okay. I'll try and find one.
Honestly, you do. You're terrible.
What? Well, following up with Lloyd's, Direct Line attacks 800 jobs because everybody's doing it all digitally now rather than picking the phone up. And it's right. But you can't. Look, guys, if you want to moan about jobs changing and being lost, why the hell are you shopping and banking online? I don't get it.
Yeah, or get a job where you work in the online business.
Yes, which you could. Hi to Anna and Eddie, by the way. We'll move on for Rachel's sake. The reconstruction and restoration work in the UK Parliament in Westminster has revealed a door that no one's seen since the 17th century, apparently. The entrance is
very cool.
That is very cool. It's a really old-fashioned oak-looking door. The entrance is believed to have been used by the likes of Samuel Pepys, whoever he is, Robert Walpole, I know, who was like the first PM in the UK. Who's Samuel Pepys, anyway?
He wrote a diary.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But it explains where all our MPs are.
Yeah, down in this little hidden thingy.
I wonder why I hadn't
Why didn't
ever
you kill
seen
them
mine.
and hide the body?
Very sad news. In one of the amazing ladies that worked at NASA, Katherine Johnson, she's died at the age of 101. And she was a maths genius. And she was portrayed in the film Hidden Figures as well.
It's such a great movie. Have you seen it, Uncle Eric?
I have because I was drawn to the NASAism of it.
It was great because back in those times when they were trying to get John Glenn in the air, they had a bunch of people working at NASA called computers. That was the name of their job, and they were computers, and they used to sit in little rooms on the other side of the world, just about, because they were all African American ladies and there was segregation at that time. And she was actually appointed to work with the big guys because she was so fast and so brilliant, and her math was spot on. And she ended up solving the problem of how to get him into his into the correct drop zone.
Mm-hmm.
Keep him in orbit and then get him in the right drop zone.
Right, going back to the sorry, Rach. Mitchell says, but they're not jet engines, Eric, the electric ones. But I'll tell you what, Mitchell, it's like having one. I know why Dave's passionate about this, because if you can get yourself a test drive in an electric car of half decent quality, when you put your foot on the pedal,
goes like a rocket.
It's more than just a single jet engine. It's a rocket taking off. The power is just phenomenal. But you know, it doesn't fit in with my things. But are they like jet engines? Very close, Mitchell. I wouldn't like to say they're the same as a jet engine, but I tell you what, the power. Man, the takeoff would be. Can you imagine putting the equivalent in a plane and the takeoff needed? It would be like 2 meters and you'd be taking off. It'd be bonkers. Actually, that's a good point. I bet that'll happen. Boris is telling expats, there was a gentleman who's long since retired in Portugal, been battling away for years to get expats to have the right to vote in UK elections when they've been outside the UK for over 15 years. And Boris, I do not agree. I don't. I find it horrific. If you leave the country, you leave the right to vote there. What's wrong with
I agree with you.
Do you?
Yep, because expats who live over here, they can still vote, but it depends how long you've been gone, I think. But
yeah, it's up to 15 years, Rach.
Yeah, but friends of mine who, because your voting is non-compulsory, friends of mine who have emigrated have said, no, we've emigrated, we're staying here, we're waiting for our citizenship so we can vote in Australia, but we have no interest in voting in the UK because we don't live there anymore. And
absolutely. I don't even think you've got the right to have, you know, that one vote which could dictate to people like Dave living there what they have to do when you're living thousands of kilometres away. It's ridiculous. It really is.
You forfeit. You have to forfeit.
Yeah. Great news for May, and the good news is, for me especially, because it does mean a lot to me. On a Friday, will be the 75th anniversary of VE Day. Now, across the UK, they're changing the date of the holiday at that point, the May one, to coincide with VE Day. And the great news is that the VE speech by Winston Churchill is going to be heard across the UK. I pray and hope that includes responsible radio stations as well. But we'll be doing our bit here. The police boss, the Metropolitan Police boss, has said something so logical this week, guys, that I couldn't even think why it wasn't logic to everybody else. People have been moaning about facial identification. And when you walk down the street, they can look at your face, just like watching NCIS, and they grab your picture and they can find out who you are. And people are up in arms about it. And the boss of the Met Police has said, well, hang on a minute. What's worse, having your picture taken or somebody getting a knife through the chest? And it's
already in existence anyway, Uncle Eric, of sorts. Because there's so much CCTV around.
Yep.
Everybody's getting photographed at every hour of the day, and people who are criminals are getting identified by that very technology. So what's the difference?
Well, I don't get it.
I don't either.
It's got to be.
I don't get it.
You don't get it.
I mean, no. I mean, I've seen bits and pieces on news reports. It's brilliantly clever stuff. It's the sort of thing you'd expect to see in a movie where they just scan people's faces, and if they are on a list of people who've done something naughty, they're flagged up. Well, I'm sorry, if you've done something naughty, that's your fault. Maybe you shouldn't have done it.
Well, yeah.
If you haven't done anything naughty, you've got nothing to worry about.
No,
precisely.
It's the same thing with ID cards. I mean,
I don't have a problem with them either.
No, I walk around with an ID card. I've done for 15 years. But, you know, people go, oh, it's terrible. It's infringing my civil liberties. No, it's not, you numpty.
I walk around with an ID card too. It's called a driver's license.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's all right.
So well done, Clarissa. I'm with you, mate. This has got to be the right thing to do. There's been lots of articles in the press, in magazines. There's a huge article in the travel magazine, how Sharon looks after that, about driving abroad after Brexit. Now, the funny thing is, a lot of the rules that people are now talking about actually apply today. But people just sort of go, oh, doesn't matter. You've got to have proper insurance that covers you for Europe. You have to carry what's called the V5 document. You have to carry it with you when you're driving. You have to carry a current MOT certificate if your car's over 3 years old. If not, in certain conditions, you will get your car impounded. And, come on, guys. You can't just say, oh, I'm British, I don't have to do any of that. You have to get on with it and, look at the rules. They're very simple. They're not complicated. Apparently, the international licence is going to be something like £5 at your local post office. Doesn't last very long, but doesn't matter. It's so simple to get the green card for your insurance. Make sure you got your MOT with you. Make sure you got your registration document or V5, and also, it's a £5 to get your international license done. Stop just pretending it's like King Canute. I'm going to push all the waves back. It doesn't matter to me. Just get on with it. It's not hard, is it?
Yeah, but have respect for the rules. Just, they apply to everybody. Just follow them.
Yeah, exactly. About 50 terrorists were stopped from being released from jail because of a new law in the UK, and I'll give them a round of sandwiches for that.
Yay!
Yes, hurrah! Woohoo! Eamon Holmes has lost his case against the tax office in the UK. They're saying he cannot put his work through his limited company. They've come up and won the case. Eamon, please go to the High Court and challenge this, will you, mate? Because they are wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Eamon Holmes does not work for one company. When he was at ITV, he was working for Sky. So what are you going to do, tax him double?
Probably.
Do these people know? What about actors, Rach?
Yes, what about them?
They're all self-employed.
They are self-employed and they have to declare their income to the government just like everybody else does, but as a self-employed person, big stars are usually inks, so big famous people, because they employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and actors who have their own production companies, and they all have business managers to look after stuff like that.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to pay. You got to pay what you owe.
Absolutely. Eureka moment this week with Ofcom. They've been testing the UK's 5G network, and as you remember from last year, dear listener, there was lots of toing and froing about 5G networks and all the conspiracy theorists running around like idiots. And there's me going, there is nothing wrong with it. There isn't. You can stand more chance of getting tiny bits of radiation from your microwave. And the tests done by the regulator in the UK have failed to find any health risks from 5G. Hurrah!
They were talking about, remember when they were talking about this when cell phone towers went up?
Yep.
And they were talking about all this sort of stuff, and everybody got hysterical over absolutely nothing. Y2K, same diff.
I just thought of something. Dave.
Hello.
You've been stood standing by 5G.
Yes. There's a mast at the end of the road. I haven't turned into a gibbering idiot yet. Well, hang on.
That's a terrible example.
Actually, he went too fast. Because
is that responsible for the hair loss, Dave?
Because could be.
Do you remember helping me with some rather large satellite dishes in my garden?
I do.
Very, very large ones, weren't they? Over 1 metre in size.
Yes.
That stood in the fairy garden at the bottom of the garden.
That was the bit that you couldn't be bothered to do anything with, and called it a wildlife garden, where it was basically just overgrown. Yeah.
Yeah, that bit. The LMBs on there were 5G.
Well, that explains where my hair went then, really, doesn't it?
It really does.
So Dave, not just me, have been exposed to 5G frequencies decades ago, and we're still today.
Yeah,
We're all,
don't go down this route.
no.
People don't. Yeah. I think everybody's realised we're mad, so
Hello,
it's probably a bad choice.
yeah. Hello, Tiara, as well. Oil firms have been stopped from drilling or something in Australia.
Oh, yes, they're not going to drill for oil off the coast. They've decided not to because the Great Australian Bight is at the bottom of Australia. If anybody's familiar with the shape of Australia, at the very bottom, it looks like there's been a big bite taken out of it, and that's why it's called the Great Australian Bight. There's a lot of oil reserve off that coast, a lot, and they've agreed not to drill because it's very, very damaging to the environment, and we don't really need any more oil at the moment anyway. We're good. So, and there's plenty of places to find oil, that's further out, way further out than on that coast. Yep. So there's no need to do it. And they've decided, you know what? No, we're not going to do it. And environmentalists are saying that's a huge win, and I agree, it is a huge win. There's no need for it. It'll kill a lot of marine life.
Yep.
It's very, very bad for our fisheries and other people who make their living out there. So good job saying no to that.
More messages. If they're allowed to vote in the country of residence, then why should they be allowed to vote in the UK? I agree. You've got to make your choice.
It's the first time Eric's ever agreed with Steve Mann. It's a miracle.
I know. And then he wants to know, did you make the dishes yourself? Not the ones that we're talking about now, Steve. The first one I did, made out
of a dustbin lid.
No, it was papier-mâché in the garage. We had that big sand mould.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? I had to clean it all out once. Yes. So I did do the first one. It wasn't very, very good, to be quite honest. It was okay. But it worked, but not very good. My mother, Mitchell, my mother ripped down my 20-foot mast when I was on the ham radio because she was worried about radiation. Oh, I can tell you.
I like that, Mitchell.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Taking a 20-foot mast.
Oh,
what?
Breaking news, by the way.
Oh gosh!
I've been doing a bit of digging,
mm-hmm.
and last July, at the Paris Air Show, saw the launch of the world's first commercial all-electric passenger aircraft, albeit in prototype form.
So
Israeli firm.
I'm not getting on that ever.
No
way.
Israeli firm Eviation says the craft, called Alice, will carry 9 passengers for up to 650 miles. That's 1,040 kilometers at 10,000 feet at 276 miles an hour. And it's expected to enter service in 2022.
Nothing like living next door to Alice, then.
Oh,
no.
Goodness.
Yes, I know. I'm not going to do the rest of that
and
one.
You know what else?
Rude.
You know what else? If you live next door to that, Alice, it'd probably be really quiet.
Yeah. I remember the sand mold one in an electronics magazine. You would have done, because I actually wrote about it in a certain magazine as well. The spy chief in Australia is getting rather uppity about the spread of hate neo-Nazi people and claiming there's these small cells are on the outrage.
Yes, and you know what is very unusual about the story? Our intelligence agency is called ASIO,
mm-hmm.
and they never go public with anything. They never talk about anything. So this guy's the new boss has held a press conference and said, we've got a neo-Nazi problem and we're going to stamp it out. So if you're a neo-Nazi and you're trying to create trouble, we're coming for you.
Good.
For ASIO to actually go on TV and say that out loud is a very big deal. But it's scary to think we've got lots of that here. I don't want to think that we have that's a thing. But I know that in Queensland there are very alive and kicking chapters of the KKK.
You're joking me.
No, I'm not. I'm truly not. It's very, very scary. There was one cell of the KKK where was I living? Toowoomba, which is it's Queensland, but it's inland. It's where Paul's from.
Gosh.
Our Paul, and there was a chapter of the KKK right there.
Flipping heck.
I didn't know they were in Australia.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That. What do you mean it's me to blame for getting into satellite technology? I knew I'd eventually find something to blame you for. Me? Little harmless me? Anyway, I've got to say happy birthday to the Slovak ambassador Wednesday, Lubomir Rihak, who was awarded on his 50th birthday, get this, the youngest ever freeman of the City of London. He got the official thing, which is really cool. And our Jan was there with his good lady at the ceremony. And I have to say, hats off to Lubomir, because apart from the fact he comes on here now and again, he does work incredibly hard. And, hats off to you. So you do really good. Fabulous stuff. In the news, Julian Assange has put lives at risk, according to US lawyers, whilst on the other side of the fence, the NUJ, that's National Journalists, are screaming foul all over the place, saying he's just being set up for all this.
No, he's not. He's a pill and he's a danger and he should be locked away.
Oh, I was going to say that.
He's Australian and I'm not proud of that. But by leaking certain information, he put people's lives at risk. He literally put people's lives at risk. And who is he to say what information should be disseminated and what shouldn't? And honestly, I find him pompous. I find him self-righteous. I find him obnoxious, the way he hid in that embassy for years. Lock him up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have not seen it exactly, but if it is that he did release the names of people who reside in the Middle East who are members of the LGBTQ community, then he wants locking up. Because
he released names of undercover agents. That is so dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't do that. These people and their families were threatened because their covers were blown. And I don't care what sort of journalist you think you are. I don't care what sort of crusader you think you are. If you are putting people's lives point blank in danger by revealing certain information, you don't do that. And that's just him wanting to be famous. And you know what? Be famous in prison.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pleased to say, something that really upsets me, I've been proven right this week, and I don't want to be proven right, dear listener. I really don't. Guy Verhofstadt has said it's time to revolutionise the EU budget. Instead of national contributions, we need to own resources, i.e. tax. And the only way to do that is to sort of tax people like financial sector and so on and so forth. And what he's actually, because nobody realises the EU has no money. It does nothing. It doesn't produce or sell anything. It's just the members. They're supposed to look after the members. What he's now suggesting is that those that currently are unelected and look after the members should have their own EU budget so they can do what they want.
Right.
Now, that is scary.
Yeah.
Very, very, very scary. I have no time for that man whatsoever. Very sad to hear of Mad Mike Hughes. I liked him.
He's nuts.
But he was brilliant.
All good scientists are.
Yeah, we're all
nuts.
Mad, I say. But anyway, he died trying to fly 5,000 feet into the air in a steam-powered rocket. Bless you, Mike. You are just one of those. You really are. And it crash landed, which is what got him. 64 years old, and probably had more stories to tell than people that have sat at home reading a book for decades because they have nothing to talk about.
Where would the world be without nutcases trying to push the world of science?
Correct.
Having said that, we at Postcard from Poprad enjoy literature, and we would encourage people to read it, despite that previous statement.
I was really trying to get out of reading a book last week. I was so desperately hard trying, and I failed.
Well, what book was it?
What book? Come on.
It's one of the series of books that's come out from Susanna, the author we have on here now and again, and they've now done a kind of quasi-history of communism, and there are a few rose-tinted glasses in it. So I've looked through it. Actually, as a book, it's quite clever because it's very pictorial, and you see all the old imagery from communist days that never went out to the West. So it's kind of good for that.
Do you know the most really cool book I read recently?
What?
I'll tell you for free, for no money, I'll tell you. It was a book by, now you've heard of this fella, his name's Russ Kane.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And he sent me an autographed copy when he heard I'd had surgery.
Oh.
And it's called The Gatekeeper. It's very good. It's about a TV paranormal detective that has to stop the apocalypse. It's very good. And he said, he wrote in it, I'll read you what he wrote. G'day, Rach. How are you, cobber? Time for a shrimp on the barbie. To my first reader in Australia with best wishes, Russ Kane. I think that was really sweet. And it's a bloody good book too.
Nice bloke, that Russ Kane.
Lovely, funny.
Yeah, good bloke, actually. And I cannot believe I'm saying this, but we've actually got to the last item on the running order at the correct time.
It's the first time ever.
You know why? I'd say why, but I can't.
No, because...
Oh, go on.
No, because Henry's not
here.
Well,
because nobody else is here gibbering. It's just us getting on with it, except for your Top Gear interlude. But, you know.
So, Max Regen interlude, excuse me.
Well, I'm sorry, Rach. This is going back to something similar. Well, not quite. Being released this week was a new video that Dave hosted. Dave was one of the editing team, and it stars the Emperor Roscoe, the man from over there. As Dave continues showing his show-off, trip around the USA, and drops in to see the DJ Emperor Roscoe and finds out how come he became what he thinks is the first green DJ ever.
World's first solar-powered DJ.
That'll do.
So, yes, that's on the Max Regen website that myself and a chap by the name of John Bolton, or JB, does, and he does all the editing. I don't. I just went and filmed it and just sent him a load of rushes.
So basically,
who's the solar powered DJ?
Roscoe.
Emperor Roscoe.
I was going to say it's not Dave with his head.
No. No, it's Roscoe, and you can see him on his trike. He's in the studio. You can see it on official Emperor Roscoe on Facebook. It's on his pages, on Dave's pages. It's on our radio page because both of them are doing shows on here. Blah, 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 blah. It's everywhere. And it's now time for Rach to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
That was it.
Oh, sorry. Goodbye, one and all. Goodbye.
That's better. I thought you two were talking before I got to talk to you, and Dave's saying, give me some time to get a shameless plug in.
No, he was saying Eric's singing is atrocious. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
Shameless plug-in for the electric. Never mind. Anyway, Dave.
Plug in. Oh, I see. Plug in.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Sorry, I was late to that party.
Yeah, you were, weren't you? Dave, what's the YouTube channel?
It's maxregen.co.uk. If you go to the webpage, you can link to our YouTube channel, which hopefully one day will have a proper name as opposed to a whole string of letters and numbers. But that depends on YouTube giving it to us.
They should do by now. You got enough viewers.
Yeah, so yeah, maxregen.co.uk. You can go and see the Emperor Roscoe video plus all the others and find out what all that's all about. And yeah, it's good fun. Thank you.
Actually, it is a good fun video, I have to say. It really is worth it. And if you grew up with Roscoe, you can go and see him now, and he's still sprightly. He is
completely mad.
Yes.
And unfortunately, you will see I smash his studio up by accident.
I wasn't going to mention that, but now you've done it. Yes, he did.
Well, it's a good thing to go and see, watching Dave trash something.
Actually, knocking everything off the shelf. Thanks ever so much, one and all. We'll see you all same time, same back channel next week, same amount of lunacy. Thank you to everybody that's commented. You've been wonderful. We'll see you all very, very soon. And if you're in the UK this weekend, please stay safe. And if you can avoid travelling, Poprad Airport has now got all the restrictions in place as well, so everybody's being tested. It's going to take you longer to go through it, but safety first, absolutely.
From the heart of Europe to the world, this is RTI.